Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to present a special topic for you. Do you want to become an overall more successful player in World of Tanks? Yes? Well, then just keep watching. In this video, I want to answer the question how you can become an overall better player in World of Tanks. And I want to concentrate on games in which your team loses the fight. So how can you become a better player? What do you need to do and what are some tips and tricks for you to apply? Let's jump into some gameplay so that I can show you what I mean. So if you want to be an above average player, you do not only want to succeed in a victorious battle, you also need to be one of the best players in a losing game, so in a game in which your team loses. This is very important because this is the only way you can get above average stats in World of Tanks. So the question is, how can you be one of the best players in a game which your team is losing? Well, the simple answer is, if you are constantly making damage from the beginning till the end of the game, and if you are one of the last tanks on the battlefield, then you can be the guy who has the most damage dealt in your team. So that is important. You need to be engaged in the fight, you need to make damage from the get-go until the end of the game, and you need to be one of the last tanks on the battlefield. So this means that you need to retreat when the time has come. Now, I made multiple videos about this topic, which I will link right here and then also later on in the video. So feel free to check those videos out. They basically cover the same topic, but maybe, you know, with a slightly different detail and also point of view. So the overall question is, how can you retreat early enough to not get rushed and taken out by the adversary team? Well, in my opinion, this answer is, it's an individual answer for every single tank. But of course we can, you know, apply some basic rules. And of course, one simple rule is, if you are playing a fast tank, you can retreat later than compared to a slow tank in which you need to retreat earlier. I think this is very simple and also easily understandable. Now, if your tank has armor, you can fall back into a position where you can use your armor, and thus you might not fall back too much. You simply, or you rather want to fall back to a position which suits your tank armor profile. So for example, in a Centurion 7-1 or Action X, you want to fall back into a hull down position. Now, and then you only need to have enough DPM, either you by yourself or you and your team, so that the adversary tanks cannot push you out of this position. But if your tank does not have any armor, then you need, yes, exactly right, distance. Distance is what keeps you safe. And so if your tank does not have any armor, then you need to maintain a certain distance between you and the adversary tanks at all times. So this is then, of course, the golden rule number one, as I would say. It's all about keeping enough distance between you and your opponents. Enough distance to hopefully not get spotted, or to at least not be the number one tank which is focused by the adversary tanks and the adversary team. So you do not want to be the priority one target, and thus you do not want to be the closest tank to the adversary tanks. But of course you also only want to bring so much distance between you and the adversary tanks that you can still constantly engage the adversary tanks in the fight. Because keep in mind, if you simply retreat to the rear of the map where you cannot take any shots whatsoever to other tanks, then you are not engaged in the fight, your team is basically fighting with one gun less on the battlefield, and you will simply give the adversary team an advantage, most likely lose the game, and then yes, you might be able to make 1 or 2 or 3 shots at the end of the game, but this will not help your team, and you will also not be the tank with the highest damage output in the game. Alright, then of course rule number 2 is you have to constantly lobster eye the minimap. The minimap is your friend, and you need to recognize the time where a dynamic situation is building up and is developing. If the game is stationary as it is right now, then you can basically fight in the same position all the time in the game. But if the dynamic situation is approaching, just like in this situation, notice how the adversary team is pushing the medium flank right here in the north where we are fighting, and then you need to do something. You need to fall back, you need to retreat, and you need to find a new position for your tank, out of which you can work with your team. Now, we want to fall back, but we want to open up a crossfire situation in this situation because we have lots of tanks on our side. Plus, if you take a look at the other side of the map, you can see that we have lost the other side of the map, so chances are that we will lose the game. Keep in mind that it is 3-9, so yeah, most likely we will lose the game, but now it is time to retreat so that we are one of the last tanks on the battlefield. And finally, the last rule is you want to work with your view range circles if possible. If you have teammates, they might be able to spot for you, but if you are the last tank on the battlefield, you need to spot for yourself. And in this case, especially in this case, you need to work with the view range circles, so to spot your opponents and then retreat, so that if you take a shot, either you want to be behind cover or you want to have fallen back so that you are outside of the view range circle, so that the other tank cannot spot you when you take a shot. Alright, so now we have lost both sides of the map, but now we actually want to proceed on the medium flank towards the D0 position, simply because we do not want to fight against those, what is it, 5, 6, 7 tanks which have pushed through the other flank, but instead we want to play on this side of the map where we are only facing 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 opponents. This will make sure, this will guarantee that we are one of the last tanks in the battle, and thus we will be top on yeah, when it comes to making damage in this game. Alright, so let's try to ram him. Okay, he's taken out, excellent. And so yeah, I think with those simple rules we managed to make 3.7k damage. And now, as you can see, well, T57 is now taken out, which is fine and understandable because this tank is super slow, so basically no chance for him to run away. We are playing in the KPZ EK1, so we have a very mobile tank, one which lets us fall back and retreat, and so that's exactly what we want to do. We want to now bring distance between us and the remaining tanks. This way we can still continue to make damage. Of course the clock is running down simply because the adversary team is has gone to our cap, which is fine and understandable. I would do the same thing if I was playing the type 4 heavy, with which you cannot chase an adversary tank. Now we can take out the type 4 heavy in the middle. We want to once again retreat, and we want to keep the distance between us and the adversary tanks. And notice how we are constantly making damage even though we are in a losing situation. And yeah, most likely the game is lost, but we can still continue to make damage with some smart gameplay and with some distance that we bring between us and the adversary team. Now unfortunately we do not hit the Rhinoceronto, we only hit the track, so we can track him, but we do not make any damage. And now you will see me do a mistake because I should run away even further. I thought the Rhinoceronto player would most likely not have a good view range, but yeah, looks like this is not the case, which is fine. But if you apply those golden tips and tricks, then you will be able to get the most out of a game which your team loses, and you will get such a result with 4k damage in a game which was relatively quickly lost by our team, and thus you will, you know, be not only a good player in a game which is won by your team, but you will also be a good player if your team is losing the game. And yeah, this will overall mean that your stats will rise and you will be an above average player. All right, second game. This time we play the ASXX40T, so let's see how we can apply those tips and tricks in this battle. Well, right from the get-go, with being a top-tier tank, with having the firepower of a 5-shell autoloader tank, and by the way, I made multiple videos about this tank. I think it is a gorgeous tank, and I really cannot understand how people think this tank is lackluster whatsoever. But I made, for example, this video right here about the ASXX40T, so feel free to check it out. In this tank, and due to the strength of this tank, I want to rush into an maybe overpowered position, so to the A1 position, in which I can create map control. Oh, and by the way, yes, I know the map has been reworked, so the A1 position has also been changed, but I want to show you this case because it fits into the topic that I'm talking about in this video. So basically retreating and recognizing the time where a dynamic situation has developed, or where basically the situation has changed and which you need to recognize in order to retreat and in order to maintain alive in the game. So never mind. All right, so we get a little bit of spotting damage, which is nice. As the KR1 and the object 432U are advancing, tanks which have quite some armor, especially of course the KR1, I want to stand still in this position and simply be the support tank for my team, and yeah, support the team once they spot one or another opponent. So let's see how it goes. Okay, looks like they do not spot any tanks, so I want to advance. Meanwhile, of course, I can use the flexibility of the ASXX40T and reload this last shell into the clip, an advantage that I really adore about this tank. This feature is so lovely. And yeah, so far looks like we are on the winning side with our team. We are pushing the medium flank. The team is looks like playing pretty successfully in the city. So what I want to do is I want to spot for my team, maybe engage the FB215B into the fight, and then simply here you go. Nice, make some damage. He has just taken a shot, so he wants to retreat, and as the bush is not transparent, I'm not even spotted, so I can take another shot onto this tank. Now I'm spotted, and which is fine. I take a shot, but we could make enough damage, so now we increased our damage to 2k and 1k assisting damage. And now take a look at the map and see what is happening. Both tanks have been taken out in the north. The only tank alive is the DVB-152. Looks like we are still managing to hold the city. However, the adversary team is pushing. Okay, now things have changed, and all of a sudden our team is on the losing side, and looks like we might not be able to win the game. The game is relatively close as of now. I want to support the heavy lane, but looks like I'm not successful. So DBV-152 is retreating, and so guess what I have to do in this situation? I also have to retreat because I need to bring as much distance as possible between me and the adversary tanks. This is my goal in such a game in which I will most likely not be able to push through and make the decisive move on the map in order to win the game for my team. That's of course an option that you have if your team is on the winning side, but if you're on the losing side, if the game is being lost, then you want to bring as much distance as you can between you and the opponents, so that, there you go, nice. And can we take him out? No, bad aim by myself, but maybe with the next shot, nice, we can take him out. So then you want to bring as much distance between you and the adversary tanks so that you can continue to make damage until the end of the game. And you will soon see me work with the view range circles, so let's see how it goes. Meanwhile, we can of course reload our clip. And yeah, so far we could increase the damage output to 3k, and we also managed to make 2.4k assisting damage. So let's now fall back. Let's not be the first tank, or let's not play at the first line, but rather at the second line. So I want to use the tortoise in order to spot the opponents. Let's knock down the trees here, because after all we cannot retreat any further. So if the adversary tanks arrive in our position, then we will at least be able to have to fight in a double push situation, or double push situation, and we will not get spotted right from the get-go. So that's the goal that I have in this situation. So let's wait until the object 2685 appears over the horizon, and let's see how it goes. As I predicted, our team is not able to turn around the game, but our goal is, as I said, to make the most out of this game and to make damage, to continue to make damage until the end of the game. Plus we want to be one of the last tanks in the battle, and thus one of the best players in the team, you know, in total. So let's see how it goes. Unfortunately, Tortoise has been taken out. I think he should have retreated earlier to a more safe position, but yeah, that's just how it is. And let's just wait until those tanks arrive. Notice how I go into a bush so that the bush is not transparent to spot those tanks, and then I want to fall back so that the bush is actually transparent, because now if I take a shot I do not get spotted. So I can take out this tank, I instantaneously go into the reload with this, once again, fantastic mechanic. Check out the videos that I made about this tank. It's, in my opinion, this tank is phenomenal, but I kind of repeat myself. So let's fall back, let's reload this shell, and then we are set up. Nice. And now we can take this thing out. Excellent. So 3.7k damage in total. And now, as we have a almost full clip available, we can continue to make damage. Nice. And another shot. And okay, let's go into the reload and reload maybe 1 or 2 shells so that we have, yeah, maybe 3 shells, maybe 2 shells available for the last engagement, because I think then the game is over. I'm down to being 1, maybe 2 shottable. Okay, now I'm down to being 1 shottable. So you know what, let's yeah, discontinue, and let's fight with the remaining 3 shells. I think I will not be able to make more damage. Okay, here you go. Okay, there's the CS62. Let's make 1 shot and another one. Nice. Okay, actually 1 shot, and we are taken out. But I think with those tips and tricks, we managed to get 5.4k damage, 8k combined, with only applying a couple of tips and tricks, and with retreating early enough, and with bringing distance between us and our opponents, and with working a little bit with view range, or in this case at the end with spotting mechanics. And yeah, thus we got the most damage out of this game, and we had an above average result. Alright, third and last game. This time we play the Concept 5 on Pilsen. And yeah, I know, let's put it like that. The Concept 5 is a tank which is fast, however not very agile, at least when it comes to tank traverse. The tank is super large, boxy and bulky. It does not have any armor whatsoever. So with this tank, if I'm not in a top tier situation, I want to play a bit defensively right from the get-go. So this is why I went to this position right here, and I simply want to add my firepower, you know, to the table. offer my team the firepower that this tank brings to the table. And then as our 3 light tanks are rushing the 0 lane, by the way, I do not think this is a good idea, and 1 light tank has already been taken out, but I want to use or exploit this situation and maybe take 1 or 2 shots onto the adversary tanks. The problem is, if 2 light tanks rush into a stationary Manticore, this is always not very successful. So let's see how it goes. Here you go. So, okay, bad aiming. Should have aimed a little bit more in front of the tank. Let's see. Now you go. Okay. Unfortunately, he just turned his turret towards us, and of course with the frontal portion the armor is stronger and we cannot pen this tank. Unfortunately, yep, our team has lost 2 light tanks, which is always a bad thing. In a light tank you need to stay alive until the end of the game at best, because in the end you can be the decisive player on the battlefield due to the spotting advantage compared to all other tanks in the game. Alright, bad chat. Now the aim is better. 566 damage, and by the way, I really like the alpha damage on this tank. It is fantastic. But now, of course, the situation is developing. The adversary team is moving forward. And so in my opinion, once again, it is time to retreat, because what we want to do is we want to bring enough distance between us and the adversary team so that we are not the first tank which is taken under fire. But of course, we also want to keep the distance so that we can constantly be engaged in the fight. And this is always a fine line. You will sometimes find yourself to retreat to a position which is too defensively, and then sometimes you will recognize that you have retreated into a position which is not defensive enough, i.e. you will get taken out. In this case, I'm still trying to find the position, and I finally go to this position right here. Let's try to kill the Manticore. Okay, once again, bad aiming by me. As you can see, they are returning fire to our position, but nice, we can shoot through the little truck there, and this is a good position because nobody of the adversary team will be able to take us out and to rush to our position. Plus, we can always fall back into cover, so actually a pretty decent position. So in this situation, or in this game, we used to be on the, I wouldn't say on the losing side maybe, but we used to be in a difficult position on the medium flank because the adversary team was rushing our position. And so we did the right thing, which was to retreat, and sometimes with doing so you can even manage to win the game. Of course, we were lucky because the heavy tanks managed to win the heavy flank, which is nice. But in this situation, retreating was the right thing to stay alive until the end of the game and to bring us into a better position, out of which we have enough distance between us and the adversary tanks so that we can be safe, but on the other hand still be engaged in the fight. And that's basically the summary of this video. That's what you want to do, especially in a medium tank. And this is why mobility is actually a pretty strong value on its own. And if you're more experienced, then you can really exploit this mobility, like in the Concept 5. Alright, so this time we managed to win the game, which is fine. Let's take another shot onto the gorilla, and bam, another 500 damage. Little high roll right here, excellent. And do we get some more damage of the adversary tanks? No, we don't. But in the end, we made 2.1k damage, 1.7 assisting damage. And once again, I think a decent example of when it is time to retreat and what you want to do if you recognize the situation that, or if you recognize the point in time where a retreat is what you need to do. All Alright guys, that was it for today with the video about how to achieve a better result in a losing game. What do you think about this topic? Do you manage to create enough distance between you and the adversary tanks? Do you think it is a fine line between playing too defensively and just successfully enough in such a situation? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. And as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up or hype the video. You can hype the video multiple times, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you find this video extremely helpful, then feel free to support me via super thanks. This way you can make a one-time donation. You just have to click this button underneath the video. If you adore this channel and you want to consistently support me, then consider subscribing to my channel or become a member once again with the click of a button underneath the video. Thanks a lot, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.